going to show you again in this video just how to find information from the database Euromonitor International Passport. It is a treasure trove of information about countries, about companies, and about different consumer lifestyle elements, etc. So I really suggest having a look in here. I'm going to just show you how to get there from the homepage. So you come to the library. I generally go straight to the library research databases here. And from here, I know it's called Euromonitor, so I click on the E. All the way down to the bottom is Euromonitor's International Passport. So once you're in here, what you'll see are several different tabs, and these obviously the most interesting, would be different types of product categories. You've got economy or economics sort of issues. You can do by world or by cities and etc. Consumer-based things, in particular digital consumer, I think would be important for a few of you, but lifestyles, etc. And also companies. You can actually search directly for your company. Now, that's not always fruitful, just looking at that. So I've got two ways in which I think actually perhaps really useful ways to start looking for your information. The first one I'm going to talk about is looking up consumer lifestyle information. Now, you could directly go into consumer and lifestyles here, but I've actually found it's more useful to write in consumer lifestyles here, and say we want to look at United Arab Emirates. Okay. And it'll automatically come up with a few results, but I want you to press go so that you receive all the results. Okay. Now, whenever you seem to land on a search page here, it often starts on the statistics. I find it's actually much more useful, so make sure you go over to the analysis. You might want to look at some of those statistics, but generally that's also embedded within the analysis anyway. The analysis is more focused on particular key things. So, what you can find is a consumer overview of the UAE, what consumers tomorrow, so that's looking forward, megatrends, consumer types, etc., consumer values, consumer behaviour, etc., as well as a broader UAE Emirates country profile, okay, and consumer types. So all of these here would be useful for you to have a look at to see what's there. Excuse me. So when you look in particular, say for example, if we look at the consumer overview in the United Arab Emirates and we get a country report on that. Okay, I think I've looked at this before with you in class, but you can look up things like what's happening in home, what's happening by life priorities by age, if you want to particularly look at your target market and what they're doing, what their working life is, expectations, leisure habits. I think that's important for a few of you guys, like Lego, Audible, etc., possibly even Twitter. Health, shopping, a whole series of things, and technology as well, which I think is going to be useful for a lot of you. You can view that as a PDF in total if you like, or you can go through these tabs more specifically. You can also come down here and have a look, and you might often find that there's related items that might be useful to you specifically as well. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to show you another really great resource for looking at the more general environments as well. So you'll see down here is actually a country profile of the UAE. Now, we've talked about all the different environments, so demographic environment, population environment, we're talking about population, etc. We talked about economics, politics, etc. And maybe you've got the idea of going and having a look in Google, searching for population here, looking at the GDP over here, but actually I might be saving you a lot of time by showing you this particular analysis, because what they do is they put all of that information neatly and nicely into a country profile. And while maybe this is, you have to check the date for this, June 2020 is actually quite recent, so a lot of this data would be current as well. So if you have a look through, you can see sort of what's happening with the economy, with GDP. You can see the political structure it talks about, stability and risk, so that's talking about maybe some current issues at the moment. Now, you're going to be having a look at all of this and you might read through it, but it may not be relevant to your particular brand. If it's not, that's okay. You don't need to include all of this in there, but I want you to go through and to see which things might actually be relevant to your particular brand in looking at the environment. So you've got an overview of the economy, foreign trade, economic prospects. So this is much more that sort of economic, potentially political. And then you come down here, you get society, which looks at your population. I think it's really useful looking at the age pyramid. So they've even got projections out to 2040. But the 2019, we've got the current there as well. So you can see that there's quite a bit of a middle there, probably due to expats. Income and expenditure, and a whole series of different types of statistics on demographic statistics on the population. So again, not all of those will be relevant to you, but possibly some. Okay, so that's a useful report. Again, if you want to go into more like the values or even types of consumers in the United Arab Emirates, this is like segmenting. If you've ever done any segmenting where you look at different types of consumers, this can be useful because it breaks down the United Arab Emirates into different types of consumers, which they would have done a type of research called cluster analysis, where they look at these are similar types of people and they act in similar types of ways. So you can see that there's different types of consumers. They'll explain what they are as well. Just wait for that to load. And again, you can kind of look at that as a full screen, but you can see they've got some called impulsive spenders, which is about 27% of the population, inspired adventurers, 25%, etc. And they've actually even got breakdowns of those and specific. Just view it. Oh, no, sorry, you can't do that. You have to put in. You can put in your information there if you want to get the full PDF. But just for now, you know, each of these is actually described as well, so you know what types of consumers these are, and maybe what you want to think about is that my target market, or can I learn something about my target market there, you know, and align those potentially. Okay, so that's sort of a generalized, and then you've got a demographic breakdown by each of those consumer types as well, age and gender, parental status, etc. Yeah, so they've got some other reports that you could look at there as well. So that's just a brief overview of how to find some of the types of things about consumer information. The other type of information that you may want to find, I'm going to show you how to do a general tree search. So this is actually often better than just going directly to these areas here, because you can break down the topics much more. So you'll see when you go to just search up here, you can go to search full tree and go to go, and you've got a whole bunch of categories and topics. Just press go there. And what you'll find is a whole series, and you'll notice these are actually the same ones that you'll find up here in industry, and then also you've got the consumer and economies topics there. But what the beautiful thing is about this is, say for example, if you are, let's say Lego, you know, you can go down and you can probably go to toys and games. And you might want to go to traditional toys and games. And from there, you could probably find construction, right? Lego's a construction type of toy. So from there, what you can do, so I would probably choose toys and games as well as construction, so the broader as well as the more specific. And then the next thing you have to do is to determine what geography you want. Now, it's just dependent on you whether you want to sort of have a look at the world and what's happening that way. That might give you some information about general trends if your brand is sort of more global. But if we're looking specifically at the Middle East and doing a campaign for the Middle East, then you want to have a look there, and look at that. We've got United Arab Emirates, luckily. So we can search from there. And from this, again, you get the statistics straight up. And this is really good for your competitor analysis. You could probably look at brand shares, etc. We could view that data. Again, I said you normally go to the analysis, but this is also useful. And that breaks down all the toys and games by different companies. Oh look, there's Lego. So I'd say that that's sorted by percentage share. Okay, you can have a look at that, share types, etc. Also, you can have a look at analysis. Toys and games in the United Arab Emirates, that might be a really good one to look at. And then potentially just having a look at whether any of these reports have anything to do with your particular brand. I can't see too much in there. Oh, construction. Oh, that's probably the wrong kind of construction. And here you can see we've got country reports, or that's on actual construction. Electronic toys, games, Mattel, Hasbro. So these are companies as well. But you could click on toys and games and get a report there. For instance. Okay, oh, look at that. They've even got COVID update on impact toys and games. Right. We've got some data on who's companies share this. That's why the analysis can sort of be a little bit better. There's Lego. Oh, there it is. Number 3. Okay. So you can have a look at that and see what you can find based on your industry as well. There are a lot of different things. You can download the reports, etc. Okay. The last one maybe that I'll show you just quickly is if you really want to focus on and look at your company, you can always type in company here, or for instance, if we were looking at Burger King, oops. Now, I don't know if they give you, yeah, okay, they've only got the worldwide companies, so you would look to that. Click on that, and that would give you sort of a profile there. That's a consumer food service profile. There's some analysis about what's happening, and you could click on that company profile. But again, you probably want to know more than just the company itself. You want to know sort of what's happening also within the industry. So you would look at consumer food service probably in that case. There we go. Competitive positioning, updates, what's the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities. So that gives you a really good overview of the company. Now, not all of you will have that. So one last one that you could look at is to simply search for your industry, or if it's particularly new. So for example, we've got some bicycle sharing company that we're going to create, and from there, just that particular topic, if it's not necessarily under phase, look at analysis, and there's only really one topic here, but the beauty of this is you can click on here and often find more related results from there. So here he's given a bit of an analysis of how dockless bicycle sharing schemes are related to the future of cities. But when you read through down here, you actually find, click here, is actually a bigger report that's more in-depth about how urban transport shapes consumer lifestyles. So that can also be really useful. Let's look through that. Okay. And there, that's great. You've got much more about consumer lifestyles, changing preferences to travel. That'll give you sort of a rundown of trends, people's values, those kinds of things that might give you some insight. There. Okay. I'll leave it there.